at about 680. It means then, therefore, that we're opening up these opportunities for young people. Okay, this is just what we do as government. We come up with skills development. We had one for many years, which had ended on 31st March 2020. Introduced a new one, started on 1st April 2020, and this will go up until obviously to 2030. You'll see in the areas that we are focusing on. We're focusing on those areas which are quite very important. Linking education and that is very important for us, because if you, which are doing quite very well dealing with unemployment, you'll see that in the main, there is a connection or a nexus between the education and the workplace, meaning we stand therefore they go to TVETs, to universities. We must also at the same time link them with the, because ultimately that's where all of us, there's something that we take it quite very serious. Improving the levels of skills in the South African workforce, that is forever. You'll see increased access to occupational directed programs. I just mentioned earlier on about artisan development, about learnerships. And I can tell you right now, young people who have done your artisans, we have found that there's a high rate of employment in them, about those who completed our artisan transition to the labor market, self-employment or employment. So that we always emphasize, for artisan development. And we're saying it's cool to be an artisan, especially in South Africa, whereby we need more artisans. And also those who are doing learnerships, you'll see, if you means you have part, we refer to it as theory, about 30% of that, which you must go to a college or a university, but in the main 2 colleges. And then 70% will be linked with the employers out there, because it's all about training, about the workplace in the main. And the absorption rate is always very high as well, both for your artisans as well as your learnerships. Well, important of today is also services. It's very important, especially for young people to really take career development yes, because that's where, if you could not make it through the career development services level, it means you might take a qualification that will haunt you for many years to come, and then you might, I don't think, I should have taken this career. So that is why there, exhibitors in terms of their career choices always make it a point that the career that you are passionate about it. Well, also this. We, for the first time, our country was hit by the pandemic. At least all of us, we know COVID-19, So when it has hit the country, so government had to come up with what we call is an economic reconstruction and recovery plan. And obviously, as the department now, we had to come up with a skill strategy to implement economic reconstruction and recovery plan. You know quite very well that our economy has moved well for many years. Even before we were hit by the pandemic, if we look into our economy was in recession for about 2 quarters. And just before March 2020, people who were employed in South Africa were about 16.4 million. People were employed, 16.4 million. And I can tell you right now, today is about 15 million. It means then, therefore, this global health pandemic has hit this country quite very hard. So that is why then, therefore, government responded by coming up with what we call is economic reconstruction and recovery plan. I'm raising this because it's important. You'll see that most of the interventions that government is introducing are around economic reconstruction recovery plan. Obviously, some priority interventions were identified. You'll see that investment and delivery. We know there is no economy that will grow if there is no infrastructure in that country. So hence then, therefore, government has prioritized, infrastructure investment and delivery. You'll see later, I'm going to show you some of the occupations or qualifications which we have identified the economy speak. Make your choices, you must always, look up as to what are those qualifications that are required by South Africa as we speak. Industrialization through localization, this is forever important, especially manufacturing. I was invited when that was early this year in Western Cape, in the Cape Metro. Then I was asking that teacher as to who is providing them with providing so many schools that are there with uniform, and so on and so on. Then I said, why then, you are not manufacturing uniforms? Here in your own community, you bring young people to participate, and so on. You call us to come and assist with training. And then I said, who is, almost all of you in this community, you are eating bread. And then I said, who's providing you bread? Then they said, no, it's provided by someone who will be coming maybe about 20 kilometers away of Khayelitsha. I said, why not? You establish your own confectionaries, because this is what you consume, you should in your own community. So tell you that in Orange Farm, you are also having same or similar situation, whereby most of what you consume is coming outside. Orange Farm, young people are being trained in entrepreneurial development. Young people are being trained in those areas which, they can respond within their own communities. You don't need to go out really in order for you to contribute to the economy. You see how important is manufacturing. Hence, then therefore, government is also focusing on industrialization through localization. Energy is important because we know if we have no energy security, it's going to be difficult for any investor to come and invest in South Africa because they will tell you that there is no energy security in South Africa, and we know that is the challenge. Hence, then government has intervened and is intervening in this area. You see, I might be mentioning all these areas. What is very important is that there are skills that are required in each government that is intervening in it. So that is why you must know, okay, around energy security, around manufacturing, around infrastructure, this is what is required by the economy of South Africa in 2021. The next one, support for the recovery and growth of the tourism, creative and culture industries, very important, tourism. And I can tell you that our tourism industry was so worstly affected, whereby we looked into your foreign arrivals, those 71%. Equally, the same tourism activities dropped about 1%. Quite very huge. So it's an area, therefore, that we are saying as government will be focusing on. And you'll see that we need young people to around those areas of recovery and growth of the tourism and cultural industries. You know quite very well that our cultural industries were worstly affected. Green economy interventions, that is always cutting across almost in each and every area. Important to have young people being trained. When you speak about solars, it is quite very critical in terms of energy security itself. Agriculture and food security, this is forever important. Have to eat, if agriculture and food security is collapsing. So that is why you'll see that we're encouraging young people to public employment, including the presidential. This is forever. This just last year, sometime October, November, Department of Basic Education country employed about 19 young people, 319,000 young people across. Something that is unprecedented. That you'll have your basic education, employing so many young people, to be education assistants and so on. That because obviously we have to come up with all the innovations and so on. Right this year, I've seen they have published as well, opportunities, inviting young people as well. I should think it's more than 187,000 opportunities that they are creating. And then you must all, those who can afford, data, go to South African, because if you get into, that you are going to be able to access many of the, opportunities provided by government. As we move ahead, there is going to be more opportunities provided, through this mass public employment. And I can tell you, so far, it has made an impact. I was just looking into those who are in training. For the third quarter, the third quarter of 2020, we had about 3.3 million young people between the ages of 15 to 24, not in employment, education, or training. And I checked in December when these programs were launched by government. That went down to about, it means just million up to 100,000, up to 300,000 provided during that time. So it's very important for government to ensure that we're bringing as many as possible young people into the field of employment. Well, in the strategy that we developed, as Department of Higher Education, the skills strategy, we've identified about 10 interventions, which are quite very critical. And we'll see this is speaking to assisting or ensuring that we are providing opportunities for young people in our country. You'll see intervention one about expanding the provision of short skills programs, to respond to skills gaps identified in the strategy. The stars are there with you. I've mentioned that we have got community education and we have TVET colleges. We provide so many of these opportunities across the country. Intervention fund the provisioning of workplace-based learning programs to respond to occupational student skills gaps, identifying the strategy. This is what I've mentioned earlier on, whether it will be artisanal. We know there might be amongst you young people who are studying in our TVET colleges, who are studying in our universities, who could not complete, their qualifications because they could not get workplace. Because in our universities, you'll see that diplomas, whereby, in that diploma, we have embedded the, because it's very important that, when you complete that diploma or that degree, you must also have this workplace experience. The same happens with our TVET colleges. Whether you are doing your N6, in order for you to get a diploma, you'll obviously be needing about 18 months workplace experience. So that is why it's also our area to emphasizing on, so that we do not have young people, who are struggling to get work. But obviously, I can tell you, with the COVID-19, across the country, we've been struggling in this area because, especially in your first few months or weeks of your hard lockdown, workplaces were almost closed. there were about 40% of the workforce that was at work. So the employers during that time, they could not prioritize, training. But then I'm happy now because when I'm seeing the numbers, I see that, the employers are coming to the party in terms of opening up our workplaces. Well, you might think it's only us, in South Africa. It's not only us in South Africa who are affected. I looked into other countries, in OECD countries, whether you look into Germany, you look into Australia, they also had some problems related to training, whereby employers, during the first few months of hard lockdown, they could not prioritize your workplace-based learning, whether it's your learnerships, your internships, your work integrated learning, your artisans, and so on and so on. This so that, our young people can have these opportunities being open for them. Intervention for very, very important, because if, as I said, we need to grow our economy, well, obviously, if you look at 2021, the economy has grown by 1.2%. That it might be at about 1.6%. Meaning, therefore, our economy is still your population growth. So we need then, therefore, to ensure that we are supplying those qualifications which are, in terms of the economic reconstruction and recovery plan, I've identified some of the areas, whether it's agriculture, food security, is energy security, whether it's tourism, and so on and so on. So it's quite very critical then, therefore, that we are increasing enrollment in those areas in our universities, as well as in our colleges. Intervention 5, basically review, revise education and training programs to respond to occupational shortages and skills gaps identified in the strategy, sorry. You will see that not all our programs, especially if you go to our TVET colleges, that are geared to respond to what is required by our economy. Hence, then, therefore, we are also at the same time busy reviewing and revising, our curricula so that it can respond into the skills or qualifications or occupations that are required by our country. Intervention 6, you might not know that much about the critical skills list. I know it might not be political, but then this is a real list. It means that we have to import skills that we do not have in the country. It means we must get skills that we do not have in the country from outside. This is very important, for young. Why currently we are busy finalizing the critical skills list. It is within the remit of the Department of Home Affairs, but then with the Department of Higher Education and Training, we do assist them because we're providing that technical know-how in terms of how to develop that list. So importantly, when that list is being published, because to us, this is a signpost, or this is how we would like to, influence young people to venture into those qualifications or occupations that, will be in our critical skills list. Because these skills, you cannot produce them in 3 years. You cannot produce them in 1 year. You cannot produce them in 2 years. You can only produce them in 3 years up. So, but if we need to grow the economy today, we are not going to wait up until we produce that skill. So hence then, therefore, as the country, we also develop the critical skills list, whereby Department of Home Affairs is using for its visa, referred to as visa for critical skills, So it means someone anywhere outside South Africa can come and work in South Africa only in those occupations or qualifications which we have identified in the critical skills list. Hence then, therefore, the emphasis to especially young people, this critical skills list, you see these are the skills that we require for this country in order to grow the economy. Well, I know I've seen also there will be a lot of presentation around entrepreneurial development, and there might have been also made. Development is forever important. It's forever, ever, ever important because the formal economy is not going to opportunities for all of us. So that is why then government is making an emphasis that we need to develop more and more entrepreneurial skills which are required, also by the country. Mind you, I've went to Western Cape, whereby I was asking them who is producing bread for them. These are the opportunities. They are out there. We are here. As the post-school education and training. Involved with training, involved with skills development. Then in those communities, say, okay, fine. I'm going to focus maybe on confectionery, let's say produce. And then there are so many high schools, there are so many primary preschools in my area, which they need, bread, they need uniform. So you can start something, your small cooperative or your, small, medium and micro business, whereby you're producing what is required in your community. As the department, we are here for you to assist those ones who would wish entrepreneurial development. As I said, I was happy to have had that with our institutions, your sitters, which are there. Go and ask them as to how they can assist you, because that you are offered. I'm not going to speak about it, might not be that much relevant for the skill strategy. Intervention 9, pathway management network. We're working here with the presidency, working with the Department of Employment and Labor, whereby, we're saying this is a network of networks. I would have that the president was invited, just to speak on the National Pathway Management Network, because my colleagues there in the presidency, they're working on this. They've been doing presentations, across the country. How important is your National Pathway Management Network from learning to earning? Quite very critical when young people engage with the PMN. It's whereby you get these opportunities. I was referring to, and government will be using this network, for young people. I've seen, especially with the basic education, the applications that are being made. Even in the Twitter account of Department of Basic Education, young people, no man in your youth mobile, this this opportunity has been struggling, and then I've been following up, on Twitter, and then I saw at some point that everything now was working smoothly in terms of this pathway management network, whereby you access all these opportunities. I know my colleagues from the presidency, they've got more authority to speak around this area. Well, intervention 10 is all about us, what we need to do, especially as the department, to ensure that we are getting ourselves ready in terms of the provision of opportunities that are required for all of us. Well, I promised you earlier on that, as I was saying, we as the department, we have developed what we call this skill strategy to respond to economic reconstruction and recovery plan. I will tell you what you see in front of you. These are speak for economic reconstruction and recovery plan. So very, very important. It's a long list. I should think when I was doing calculations, whereby we need young people, we need people to be trained in these areas. You'll see some of them, electrician. Electrician is your trade. Someone who was born into a college, doing for 3 to 4 years, and then you'll be getting a trade testing and you get a certificate. It means now then that you can go and practice as an electrician. Tool makers, fitters and turners, divers, crop produce analysts, and so on and so on. I can tell you plumbing. You see mostly in some of the corners in our townships and suburbs, someone saying, I'm a plumber. So it means that person can assist you if there is something leaking. And, importantly, you are not going to wait for someone to employ you. You can create your own employment, because if you are a plumber, you are not going to look for a job somewhere, but then you're going to create a job yourself. This is what is finisher, wood machinist, forester, all of them. We're showing them we have identified. But I must also caution by saying it does not mean, because there are always emerging occupations or skills that will require as a country. So it does not mean that this will be forever, amen, alpha and omega. There will be changes, because there is always each and every year emerging occupations or emerging qualifications that we need, because the economy is moving, is not static. But I can tell you some of the areas that we have identified in terms of economic reconstruction and recovery plan. Well, the World Economic Forum, important in 2020, it has also identified some of occupations which are in 2020. You'll see process automation specialists, data analysts. I'm seated here, we need more data analysts, more data scientists, we need big data specialists, we need your chemical laboratory scientists, and so on, identified by World Economic Forum. You'll see here is just showing some of the skills gaps. People, they know that your soft skills are not important, they're very important. I tell you, when I went to Russia in Kazan in 2019, leaving South Africa with a team of more than 20 young people, then when you go there, you see, let's say maybe you are working on
recording stop.
You are working, for example, in constructing a teamwork, communication, others, your work readiness. We train in some of our colleges, universities, or
well, ladies and gentlemen, as always about the sound, you know how it is when we go that way and then there's disconnections along the way. But Utatumvalo explained so much. You're more than welcome to contact Utumi and see if you can get a hard copy of that presentation. I'm sure some of you, it wasn't clear at some point, hard copy, so was young people. Thank you. Any young people here? Thank you, Romeo. Are there any young people here? Thank you. With a show of hands, who are frustrated? Young people who are frustrated, with the show of hands. Okay, I've got 1, 2 young people that are frustrated. 3. I'm frustrated, man. Okay, I see you. I see you. Oh, yeah, here you go. I see young people. You're 45, like I am. You're young. Are you 35? Your parents got 35? Or our phone in Joksumi to participate? Oh, okay. No, I need to participate. Young people, hands in the air if you're frustrated. Okay, thank you. Down. Hands in the air if you're frustrated by the world and this planet we live in. If you are frustrated, yazi Nkosi yami, Inkosi yazi yasibeka kulo mhlaba. Izandla phezulu. That's a huge thing, right? That's a very huge thing. I'm giving you stuff that is, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Young people that are frustrated, go to Inkosi sifake kulo mhlaba sabantu abamnyama. Yeah, that are frustrated. Yeah. I feel you. Young people who are frustrated, when are we actually going to take over as young people? Ooh, when I spoke about takeover, look at you. Young people who are frustrated about their family. Uswile. Hey, uswile le family. Uswile. Because I'm one for the family. I'm so sexy. Young people who are frustrated by the frustrations of that family unto you. Young people. It's like all this pressure, all this fighting about now, all the young affecta, and feeling frustration. Young people who are frustrated by the parents or immediate relatives who don't believe that actually you will make it. Young people. Kunini uya kulama center nama conferences. Wawungafani nosisi wakho uye you save mar. Just say you save at least. Lana, it's all intellectual, right? Thank you. Young people who are frustrated about the violence between young people at schools and in the township. Yeah, ne? Thank you. Young people who are frustrated because of how the country is governed. You are. Okay. Young people who are frustrated about all the frustrations as but they do nothing about it. Cabanga zonke izinto esizibalile ne ocabanga ukuthi yini oyenzile or yini ongayenzanga. Young people abangayenzanga anything. Yeah, thank you for that honesty. Because when it comes to the running of the country, it's easier to say than to do something. Right? Young people that are frustrated that they are still alive and at some point think, wouldn't it be better to take my own life? Yeah? Thank you. That's honest. Young people who felt at some point, I can't. Young people who felt at some point a family member might have gone that way and take their own lives because they're frustrated. I see you. Young people who are frustrated that their mental state is not being catered for. Ekaya, friendship, scala, society, government, where you feel your mental well-being is not being taken care of. If you are frustrated. Thank you, young people. Thank you. Keeping it gangster, please. Because this head, once it has reached a certain level, it's no longer connecting to this baby here. Guba over, right? Because you are thinking, that's it, I cannot take it anymore. I can't. But bayabona ukuthi youth unemployment statistics is 64%. We've been telling them the same thing, but they tell us about township economy without defining township economy. Where is it at this day in life? You have grown and you're 15 years. They're telling you about township economy that you do not know or recognize, feel or enjoy. Do you understand what I'm saying? And at the same time, it's your moms, it's your dads, it's your uncle, blah, 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 blah. And a young person often buys something also like the knowledge makabuya, they must apply it, but the young people every year then you feel single out and then you just think, let me just be part of this group. Once you're part of the group, whatever, that's the dangerous thing, because whatever society. it changes your earlier goal. You begin to dream less. And then you camouflage within the album, whatever. And then sooner or later, I'm fit as anglali, man. Anglali. Whatever. Uzohlangana naleyo group leyo. And then uya change amasofika ekhaya. Hamba wawungayenzanga. Whatever. Because you're in that group. It is difficult for young people today. We mustn't take it lightly. Young people, do not be afraid to say you can't hold on. Kuma Olympics as at Tokyo, right? The queen of the floor, Simone Biles, you know Simone? Yeah, the African American, she couldn't take it because she couldn't take it anymore. She couldn't take it anymore. Ukshaya itamla ayelapya agasakwazi. Not because agakwazi, but because she's tired. So magangati 1, 2, 3 and miss one asela. That's a career breaking ankle, bro. You're no longer at the Olympics. Young people get tired. Young people, Osaka, the tennis player from Japan, the young lady, you see that, Naomi Osaka. Naomi was getting tired because of my interviews about Yenzayo every single time. And it's patriarchal men who think that they're entitled to kubuza noma yini. Uqedwa ukushaywa 6 love in the opening of the American Open. So you have to deal with ushaywe umuntu, a player that is not ranked, and you are world number 1, but that ukuvithiza ivula ifunction. Was 6 love. Under 1 hour. And then funeka uyongena kuleya press conference. Yeah, how do you feel? It's like sometimes you can say, how do you think I feel? Do you know what I mean? And she's getting tired. Imibuzo. Sometimes people patronize you. So do you doubt yourself now, Naomi? Who are you to ask me that do I doubt myself? It's because we do not have the presence of mind to stay. It's so beneath me. Can't you just upgrade your question? We'll come back to you later. Any other questions? You are afraid, young people. Nitata yonke into. Noma yini nje niyayithatha. Noma ungazumphendula umuntu ukuthi na uma uzwa lo mbuzo man uyawuzwa ukuthi uyabheda lo muntu. But because uyasaba because ulo muntu, ne? Then you must uzehlise to the point where uzo engage naye. So what I do, mina ne, before we go to break, upasa mpopo uzoza though before we have tea. Nginama circles I3. Eyokuqala isekele inkulu, ne? I think it's the example of my bishop. No, just an example. Young Kosia, I'm a bishop. If you drink this water, but young people, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Because you do not read the Bible, some idiot who has a church can make you eat grass. Some stuntman who's trying to be, I don't know, something, can make you eat a snake. Once the Bible that you should have read says, Mina as your God and Father, if you ask for a stone, I will give you bread. You can't ask for fish and I give you a snake. Because young people, asifuni ukufunda. Even nakulezinto esiziphethe zamafoni, awufuni nje ungene kwenye article a higher level. Ufuna ukubona, I don't know about big nazi, ufuna ukubona hey cha hey. Uzokhula ne. Uzokhula. And Instagram, for example, angeke ikhule. Iyohlala appeal to the younger version of its society. It's not going to be Instagram say kugile and they're not posting anymore. No. You'll be old at 25. I was making an example. So, my bishop, right? The 3 circles that I use, my bishop is only one. Baninga bantang batitanja, na my friends batitanja. Kuna circle enkulu. La everyone angena khona. You understand? Angwazi kahle, angwazi ukuthi uyakuphi ngengqondo, ngeringasi yakho, the intellect yakho. So I cater for you. Ne? So mabafika labafundisi ngibafaka esekeleni yokuqala. Ne? Ngoba ngibazi. Nami kusekeli yokuqala ngiyenza ngathi angazi. Sila kule sekele. Ezuhlelo liqhubeka kunesekeli eya ibancane. Where I pick who's got sense and who doesn't. Who makes noise a lot for ama promo i157 ezowenza. Ukuthi ngimiyekela ihlanyise loyo ngoba ngiyazi ukuthi mabafaka yena ku promo nizongena nithi you can't wait. That is the second circle. But in that circle I've spotted 2 or 3 people with sense. Nengqondo. Then ngena ku circle yamencane. This is where I surprise them. They think I'm still in that circle yokuqala. Once they start saying, Nimrod, njengoba uJesu bampaphathisa emanzini ase Galilee. And I'm like, don't you mean Jordan? Sorry Nimrod. Yazi likhona le verse. Yabona lama gifts Nimrod akumele abantu baki. Then it gets traditional and African, right? Yeah, lama gifts la are given to people. In course, and then I take you to 1 Peter chapter 4 verse 8 to 10, where it explains how complex God is. How God does not need even your permission to act his sovereignty. He can give me a gift, ngu Nimrod also orange farm. Anginikeze leyo gift leyo ngokuthanda kwakhe. Without asking whether your bishop has a bigger church, I do not care. Because God is above that, man. And God can give me a gift. He does not need your permission or your pastor's permission. I can tell you that right now. That's why I must say ku smaller circle. Ila sekuvela mina. Ila so damn, I just walked into this guy. Ooh, kanti Nimrod iBhayibheli uyalazi. Then so yaxakeka. Yabo? Nimrod, we're going to cut for a commercial break. We thank you so much. Masibuya nama bishop. Sizoqhubeka asabuyi ngawo. I know you're frustrated, young people. There's too much English kini ne. Bafuna njalo. The idiosyncrasies of the it's like, but why ungangitsheli ngisemafama? Why ungangitsheli ngendlela emele ngenze ngayo? Uzongi-explainela u-idiosyncrasy ukuthi usho ukuthini. But usho ukuthini nge-current unemployment of young people now time alami ngicela ungitshele mangihleli la Orange Farm. Uyazi unemployment la. Sibaningi manje abathengisa ama-cigarettes, sibaningi abathengisa inhloko zenkukhu, ekhaya bathengisa amawutwana, sibaningi kule area. How do I apply my skill in another area? La bazothi ungangeni yithi lana. How do you explain that to me as a young people, as a young person, after this conference? You'd have inspired me. Now melung connect. And the young people, it's difficult to connect. It's very, very difficult, this thing. If una ube inspired, angithi siqale saba frustrated. Manje mele sibe inspired to fight the frustration. Ne? Ungahlali njalo also. Because then umoya omubi helps you to do this. Uyogcina nothing. Umoya omubi ukuthanda la vulnerable khona. Ungayilaphi. Thatha le nyawo uyazibona unjani man. Uyazibona man. Uwile. Thatha le nyawo uzolala. Exeni uyazama ukujoga trying to lose a bit of that weight and you're like, what's the point? Because they're laughing at me. Ngidla my chocolate. Umoya omubi ula. Idla le chocolate ngena le chocolate. And then ifridge kune ice cream idla. Hlanganisa nama chops nepapa nengingila nenyama idla. I'm going to fight what? Fight what? Idla. Then you lose your battle. Ngokuyogijima. And then comfort eating catches up with you. Then you hate yourself. So you must be inspired, young people. Anyone ozokutshela ukuthi angeke into uyenze, sekapresse le button ukuthi ngizokubonisa ke ukuthi ngizoyenza. How many years kule industry? How many? Sengize ngina 49, yeba kithi ngina 50 next year. like I'm 50 next year. It's a difficult industry, but I inspire myself. I connect myself with positive people. I connect myself with positive production houses, with positive leaders in that production. They might not like me, but there are young people now. It's Katsabo, right? Anyone that has a followers of 500,000, they can come into a soapy and act, right? Whatever I've learned, it doesn't matter in this time. Do you understand what I'm saying? Ugutu Nimrod in course is like, it doesn't matter. There's a young man that is trending now. But I got, let me tell you, European theater, ngafunda ngamafilimu ngafunda na CV yami, naz. Sorry Branim, smart lo muntu uyatrenda. Bazobukela because lo muntu uyatrenda. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Must I be frustrated? I don't get frustrated. I try and inspire myself. There are gigs that I want. Yo, bengifuna ungena eGomora. Uyabona eGomora ne? Bengifuna ukuba steering zara. Ngizwe ukuthi nje. Bengifuna ukuba steering. Ngaya. So manje yazi orkant once babona ukuthi kunabantu abayi4 abangadlala irole ye1. Baba teste boy3. Denzel, Will, whatever. Abayi nabo. Ne? How bantu? 100,000 mele number 88. By the time we figure out number 1, we audition. We're breaking for lunch, you say, as about way to say, we are boya. Nabo ingondo yabo ayiseko creative. They're not looking at you. Now imagine when ongaziwa the treatment you might get. Must audition. I mean, at least I'm Nimrod because they can attend to this. But what about the child that is now number 1 and they get there? Okay, the character is about Kinkane. Yeah, ki character ya Yantone Hahe, Ujadi drugs and so on. Action, Yantoni Chiefs Lanja, Nanku, Amari Chiefs Yakalanga, Bafranye, Ueloya. Bakshiene, as well as a audition. And you told your mom, Le Malile, I boleile, you can be a star. So we must be inspired. We must be real young people. The connections that we make are very significant. Whether we connect with the higher being or higher than our knowledge being, we need to connect. We need to connect with good people. If le yasekele nkulu huwo wonke umuntu kule yasekele uncenga huwo wonke umuntu ufuna ukuthanda yiyo wonke umuntu le yasekele izobulala le nkulu. Abangani nabangani ongaba awazi nebirthday yakhe marumngani. You know what I'm saying? Ilabangani abasenza ukuthi we are not alone. At least nabangani. Kanti mawuqala ukuba safe kahle ku circle number 2. You understand ukuthi unabangani abayi5. Nabo mawuthi nabo you go to circle layer encane. Now you understand that you got 2 friends in this world. That if you say, I don't have a ventilation, mother, I don't have a ventilation, mother. Leya out here was go to kunodokotela so ntwana was asambe ma yiyo leyo out le. Yiyo leyo out uthi masuzu uthi uyavaya ila ikubambe ngomthandazo. Come Messi say no, this is my friend. Yiyo leyo out le. Ile out le uma ubheda ikutshela ukuthi Nimrod uyabheda. Lento yenza is unlike you, usile. And you will change. And ngifuna uqala ngeolela ngitshele, that's the friend ola. By 2 or 3. Bigger circle. They just followers. Anything you can bring for them with badle balapho. Ne? Ngoba bathanda kababangani ukudla abangakubhadali la. Umuntu uzo order la. No ngicela ibhodlela ucelani hayi intwana bengithi kanjalo ne. And then we are going to be transformed by this. Take something, apply it, let it change how you think. Listen to each and every speaker, change something, let it be not uguzala ne. inspiration go to do something, change your behavior, change your thinking, transform yourself. You can't choose the parents into Qala, ne? You can't choose the color of their skin, so do something about it. All right? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to break for tea, and then must be a again. Ne? Thank you, young people.